And in today's world, there's really only two things that really matter. It's retain the customers you have in the properties that are paying rent, and then second, whatever is vacant, lease it as quickly as possible. So I'm thinking about, I need to sell BOMA a course. So on the plane, it comes to me, this is 89 now, tenant retention. Because it was 3 or 4 recessions ago, and we were having trouble keeping tenants. And a lot of the work I was doing was in Houston, Texas, where if you went to like north of Intercontinental Airport, they were 60% vacant. I mean, and that's where the term see-through was developed. So anyway, I tell Paterino I've developed a course called tenant retention. I hadn't actually developed it, but I could develop it. She says, I want it. She says, and I want you to travel all over the country, giving it to BOMA members, because I think they'll love it. So now I'll go back to Orlando, Florida, and I develop a course called Tenant Retention. And I really wasn't quite sure what should be in this course, but I'm studying the stuff on total quality management and continuous improvement, and of course you kind of start reading stuff on dimming and things of that sort. Now I'm having trouble translating this continuous improvement message to commercial real estate, because that's all I've ever done for 35 years. But there's a series of events that takes place. They kind of put this in perspective. I had a client that owned the Sky Dome Hotel. I think it was called Canadian Pacific. So I'm doing a bunch of stuff for them that week. So I drive from Montreal to Toronto. I pull into the front of the Sky Dome Hotel. I'm kind of excited because we're staying in a room that when you open up your drapes, you look into the Sky Dome. So we were going to be able to watch a baseball game from our hotel room. Wouldn't that be a pretty cool thing for like a 10-year-old? So we pull up into the front of the Sky Dome Hotel, and the doorman says, I'm so sorry, our garage is full. So I said, well, what does that mean to me? All you got to do is take your car just 2 blocks away, there's a public garage, and then come back in and check in. I said, I just drove from Montreal. I don't want to drive my car 2 blocks away and park my car. I want to park my car here at this hotel. He says, there's an event going on. I know that. There's an event going on. When that event's over, you can move your car. I said, let me just check in, get my bags up to my room, then I'll move my car. He says, could you do it quickly? I said, sure. So I go up to the front desk, and behind the front desk is this sign. The sign says, our mission is to exceed your expectations. You ever seen that sign before? So the woman at the front desk, she'd only be trained, she went through the training thing on smiling, and she's smiling, and I said, Lipsy, she says, your room's not quite ready yet. I said, how many rooms do you have here? She says, like 350. I said, I don't need my room. Give me somebody else's room. I'm only here for 1 day. So she was pleasant. She asked for 15 minutes. I come back, the room's not ready, so I asked for the manager. The manager comes out. I said, listen, what's the mission of this hotel? And without even having to look at the banner behind him, he says, our mission is to exceed your expectations. I said, I got a guy who won't park my car, and I got a woman who won't give me a room. I said, you're not going to meet my expectations. So you're not going to exceed them. So I got this. He was fantastic. He pulls out his ink pen. He pulls out the rate card. Maybe it was like $155 Canadian. He draws a line through it. He reduces it by like $50, $60. He says, I am so sorry. He says, hold on 1 second. And he goes and he says, I have your room. Please come with me. And he takes me to my room. Don't worry about your bags. Don't worry about your car. He comes back about 20 minutes later. He hands my middle son, Jess, a stuffed turtle which came from the sundry shop. He hands me a lovely book on how the Sky Dome and Sky Dome Hotel were built, sort of a history of groundbreaking through completion. He says, here's your bags. He says, we've parked your car into our garage. Here's my business card. He says, and if I can ever help you, please let me know. And that's called recovery. And recovery is we're going to upset our tenants. We're going to upset our clients. And if you have just a philosophy of just fix it, just get it done. We're going to scratch their furniture. We're going to tow their car by it. We're going to do some pretty crazy things. But I still go through offices and I hear this. I hear either the asset manager, the property manager, or the owner of the building tell their customer, let's see what the lease says about this. I travel 220 days a year. No one has ever said to me, let's see what Virginia law says about this when I check in. Never. So we tell our customers, let's see what the lease says about this. Well, let's keep this in perspective. We have a landlord rep who represents the landlord who's not within 100 miles of this situation. We've got a tenant rep who's not within 200 miles. And so this rule book has been created by two people that aren't even present for this conversation. And we tell our customer who's paying our rent on the first month, who then enables us to pay our debt service and all other operating expenses, let's see what the lease says about this. You know how insulting that is? I mean, to me, it is just insulting. You know, there's got to be another way than, I understand there's some things that we've got to take a look at the lease, you know, how do we calculate escalations and things of that sort. But anyway, it's just sort of this mentality. And so this kind of thing happened to me in 1989. So I'm starting to get this kind of, you know, maybe there really needs to be a better way that we can keep our customers longer. And I'm doing a program for Bell Atlantic Properties. And Bell Atlantic, believe it or not, used to be in the real estate business. They used to develop. And so they just had opened up the Bell Atlantic Tower in downtown Philadelphia. My good friend Bob Gravis says, Lipsy, come help us open up the building. Johnson Control was the engineers, and we want to train them, and we want to train our concierge. We want to really feel kind of like a hotel here at the Bell Atlantic Tower. So he puts me up at the Four Seasons right across the street. And so I fly into Philly from Chicago. It's late at night. I'm on my way to the Four Seasons. Man, is this cab going to make it? I pull up into the front of the Four Seasons. Frank, I can't make this up. The doorman opens up my car, and I'm getting out the car. I've got my briefcase with me with my name tag on it. And he looks at me, and he says, Mr. Lipsy, welcome back to the Four Seasons. I said, that's fantastic. And I know what he did. He just looked at the name tag. He says, don't worry about your bags. I'll get them up to your room. And I go through the revolving door, if you've ever been there at the Four Seasons in Philly, and I'm walking towards the front desk. And before I even get to the front desk, this person comes up to me, says, Mr. Lipsy, welcome back. And he hands me my room key. He says, you're in room 351. Now, understand, I'm on the road 220 days a year. No one had ever checked me in before I got to the front desk. He says, non-smoking room, 2 double beds. He says, last time you were here, you won the Wall Street Journal. Would you like the USA Today? I said, that'd be fantastic. Would you like a wake-up call? I said, no, I'll set the alarm. I go up. I'm thinking about this incredible sort of, you know, how I was greeted. So now I'm intrigued, and I go back down to the front desk. I says, how do y'all do that? He says, it's our system. I said, what system? He says, well, the doorman recognizes you or identifies you some way or another. As soon as you start walking towards the revolving door, he goes to the house phone. Lipsy's here. We grab your check-in package. We scoot as fast as we can so that you don't have to go all the way to the front desk. I said, well, why do y'all do that? He says, at this Four Seasons, here's our philosophy. Our guests don't greet us, we greet our guests. I said, give me another example. He says, if you call down to room service, we have caller ID. We'll know who's calling. In all things, we will always try to greet you first. I had a moment of clarity as soon as that front desk manager at the Four Seasons in Philly says, we greet our guests don't greet us. It was at that moment, all that stuff I've been reading about dimming and continuous improvement and total quality management, it was at that moment I had my moment of clarity. I said, if we provide fabulous service, almost in our real estate, we provided a feeling of hospitality, we would have better rents, more retention, less turnover, more brand. And so now those clients of mine that are still embracing this feeling of hospitality, one of the absolute best is Parkway Properties, little bitty REIT in Jackson, Mississippi, okay? They have one of the highest tenant retention numbers on the planet, even in this marketplace. And they have what's called their 4F program. And their 4F program is, we want to make sure that all of our properties are very similar. So the first thing we do, we want to have the identical flags out in the front. The second thing we want to do is we want to make sure we have, you know, some kind of, you know, furniture in the lobbies to kind of warm up the feel of our office buildings, you know. The third F is, even in a recession, we're going to have flowers every day, men's and women's bathrooms, standard operating procedure. And then the fourth F is fellowship, which kind of sounds kind of hokey, but from Jackson, Mississippi, they believe it. You know, that they really feel like we want to get to know our customers.